Good morning, Unity Church of Baton Rouge. It is great to have you here this morning. How are you feeling? Great, wonderful. So greetings to the wonderful folks who are here in the sanctuary. Thank you to everyone who is joining us online. We love you. We appreciate you. We are so thankful for your presence and the difference you make in our world. So we're going to light the Christ candle this morning. This is a reminder of the Christ presence that is present in each one of us, honoring that each of us are beautiful children of God, and we get to light it again. Here we go. So this is a reminder of the Christ presence that is present in each one of us. Thank you for being here. And Jeri and Jude, you would please. Jeri, it's great to have you back again. Thank you for joining us.
Glad to be here. Right here, right now, we have come into the presence of God, and our hearts are open to the love that's found right here, right now, right here, right now. We have come into the presence of God, and our hearts are open to the love that's found right here, right now. Holy, 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 we are holy, right here, right now. We have come into the presence of God, and our hearts are open to the love that's found right here, right now. And our hearts are open to the love that's found right here, right now. Right here, right now.
Thank you. Let us join together in the welcome blessing. We love you. We bless you. We behold the Christ in you. Who you are makes a difference in our lives. If you would please close your eyes. We're going to do a prayer this morning that I love. It really moves me, and it seems as if this prayer is so timely. It's the prayer of St. Francis of Assisi. Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace. Where there is hatred, let me so love. Let us so love. Let us so love individually. Let us so love in our families. Let us so love in our church. Let us sow love in all ways. Where there is injury, let us sow pardon. Where there is despair, let us share hope. Where there is doubt, let us sow faith. Where there is darkness, let us sow light. And where there is sadness, let us sow joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. And it is in dying to the old aspects of life that no longer serve us that we are born to eternal life. Experience that Christ light, that Christ flame within you, and allow this love to flow out, touching everyone in this congregation. Allow your love to flow individually and collectively throughout all of Baton Rouge, Southern Louisiana, the state of Louisiana. Blessing our local and state officials, blessing our caregivers, our first responders, blessing everyone. Allow this love and these blessings to flow out throughout the whole of the United States, blessing everyone within the federal government, our judicial system, sowing seeds of love and blessing, harmony and understanding. Co-creation harmoniously. Allow this love, these blessings to expand throughout the whole of our beautiful planet Earth, beautiful Mother Earth, blessing all life upon, within, and above our planet, giving thanks to her. And we allow this love and these blessings to flow even further out throughout the whole of the universe. And just as we recognize that when a pebble is dropped in a pond, a ripple is created throughout the whole of the pond, the whole of these blessings for our planet, our country, our state, our region, our city, our church, it begins within each one of us. The love begins within each of us. And as we go throughout this service, this day, this week, this year, let us recall the Christ Spirit that is in us, in each of us, and know that from this place, this love grows and flows. Amen.
Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Be careful what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness, and know that God is always there. higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness, and know that God is always there. And every thought becomes a prayer.
Let us join together in our statement of being. There is only one presence, one power, and one intelligence, active as the universe and as my life, God the good, omnipotence.
And our hymn this morning is When I'm Quiet in Prayer.
When I'm quiet in prayer, I open my heart, I open my heart. When I'm quiet in prayer, I let go of heart, hallelujah. When I'm quiet in prayer, I let go of fear, I let go of fear. When I'm quiet in prayer, I let go of fear, hallelujah. When I'm quiet in prayer, I see only love, I see only love. When I'm quiet in prayer, I see only love, hallelujah.
Today is Sunday, October the 4th, and the word of today is fearless. The phrase of the day is, I am fearless as I live authentically. In the past, I may have hidden my inner light, afraid to be myself. I may have tried to please others by conforming to someone else's idea of who I should be. I may have shrunk from an aspiration, fearing that I would fail in pursuit of my goal. I may have doubted the divine perfection at the core of my spiritual self. Identifying with my perceived flaws and feelings of being small and inadequate. Today, I make a new choice. I choose to live fearlessly, drawing upon my faith to believe in myself, my imagination to envision my best life, and my understanding to know my divinity. Bold and brave, I am fearless as I live my life authentically, pursue my dreams, and express my divine nature. From Deuteronomy chapter 31, verse 6, be strong and bold, have no fear or dread, because it is the Lord your God who goes with you. He will not fail you or forsake you.
There is a quiet place far from the
face a new day with love for all mankind. Whether a garden small or on a mountain tall, no strength and courage from this quiet place. I go prepared to face a new world with love for all mankind. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jude. Thank you, Jeri. Jeri, it is so good to have you back again. We miss Jeri, yes.
I missed y'all too.
Well, come back, we're here.
You changed the service till 12 o'clock.
Thank you, Jeri. Thank you, Jude. We have an incredible treat today. We are blessed to have Angela Davis with us again. And I know that each time she shares with us, she has an incredible message and brings an incredible light and joy and love with her and in her message. So we're in for a treat. Angela is a retired educator, a Center for Spiritual Living study group leader, and founder of Unity North Shore. She has served the world as an international storyteller who teaches that when we enter into conscious communion with our Creator, all things work together for our highest good. We enjoy peace, love, and happiness by recognizing that we live in the only power there is in the universe. So please give a warm Unity Baton Rouge welcome to Angela.
Good morning. I am so delighted to be here again. So, I made a promise when I was very young. I decided that I was always going to stay young at heart. And the reason why I made that promise is because I noticed all the adults I like to be around, they were fun. And there was something youthful about them. And I think that youthfulness created a connection with their Creator. And so I decided I never wanted to lose that. And so as I was thinking about what I was going to talk about this morning, do you remember when you were a kid? Do you remember the game we used to play where the person would be in the front and they would turn their back and they would start counting and you had to creep forward to touch them? And then they would turn around and say, freeze! And you had to stop. 1, 2, 3, freeze! And you had to stop right in your tracks, right? So I'm talking about that kind of stillness today. That kind of stillness where you freeze your life in the moment that it is. Just freeze. And when you freeze, there used to be a time in my life when I couldn't just be in the presence of God. There had to be preparation for us because, this is something special going into the presence of God. It was something that you made your way into. So during my growth, my journey, there was a time when I sat in the silence and I had to organize things, quiet things in my body and make my mind calm down. Isn't that interesting? We can't just stop and be in the presence of God. So then a little bit later on in my journey, I developed this thought where, okay, I'm going to heaven and I'm going to raise the window and step into heaven, and I am going to be in the very presence of God. And that worked. Oh boy, I would raise that window and I never knew how I was going to see God, but I knew I was going to enjoy being in the presence of God. And sometimes God was just a feeling. God was just an essence that when I was 14, my mother belonged to a Catholic church. And so we would pray the rosary. Now, not just that little garland of beads. We would do the whole rosary, which was 3 of those garlands of beads. And there were times when I sat in that silence saying that rosary, and my mind would go on automatic pilot. And during those times, I would spend such wonderful times with God. And not just God, with his angels, with the saints, and all those things that I had learned up until that point of my life. I learned how to just be in the presence of God, and I had wonderful experiences, and that translated into wonderful experiences in my life, like being able to go out on the coldest day of the year and walk in Waveland, Mississippi, in those waters there, and just go out there into that water. I look back now and I go, oh my God, what was I thinking back then? What could have possibly been in those waters? But I was always safe. I'll chalk it up to youthfulness, not having lived through life. I was still young, youthful. But those times in my life, like just being able to look at the weather and say, peace, be still, like Christ, and then watch everything be peaceful, that stillness that came upon me. Scientists once conducted an experiment, and they wanted to see the effect of the early environment and the circumstances that they have upon this being, this concept of being ourselves. And this is a true story. This is not a joke. For the experiment, they used a baby, rabbit that is, which was taken away from its mother just after it was born. And it was put in a nest with the hen, because hens are known to accept the young of other animals. Now, we adults do the same thing. We'll take babies, won't we? And we'll love them. So this bunny grew up with the hen, and it learned a lot of chicken habits. It learned to peck at its food. It learned to roost with the chickens every evening. It even developed a chicken-like hop. When it grew up, the scientists took it away from the hen and they put it back with the other rabbits. Now, you might think that the rabbit would naturally understand that he was a rabbit, not a chicken, and would start acting like a rabbit, especially when being placed with other rabbits. But he never did. In fact, he cowered in the corner of the hutch, and he wouldn't have a thing to do with the other rabbits. He got so upset he wouldn't even eat or drink. After a while, the scientists put him back in with the chickens so he wouldn't die. He perked right up because he was just glad to be back home. We too are taught at very, very young ages who we are. And depending on the parents we had, we learned a lot of things about ourselves. And you know, I've had the wonderful pleasure of having an infant with me all during COVID. She stayed with me about 6 months, the first 9 months of her life. And I've been with her off and on, and she is just adorable. And I became so aware of how much goes into our minds by our caretakers. And so I spent a lot of time talking to her. I would tell her how wonderful she was, how amazing she is, how smart she is. Why? Because having raised kids already, I know that when you talk to kids, my daughter is 35 and my son is 33 now. And I love to brag on my kids. Who doesn't? My son is a PhD physics major, and my daughter is a psychologist with a master's in math. Both of them are heads and tails above me. When they start talking about math, I kind of zone out. But when we talk to our children, we want to talk to them, and not just our children, because we're really also talking to ourselves. We're talking to that little kid inside of us. So when we talk to ourselves or our children, we want to talk to them lovingly. And I spent a great deal of time talking to this little girl every day. And you know what was interesting? She was so little. She would look at me like, "Are you talking to me?" And somehow, some part of her knew I was talking to her, but I could sense she didn't really quite get that this was the truth about her, because she would make a little sound. She'd go, you know, baby sounds, but it was like I was intuitive. I was somehow intuitive and knew that this child was having a hard time getting these thoughts to register inside of herself. So, you know, when I finally knew I had made headway with her, was when she began smiling back at me. She would flash me these radiant smiles, just as my nieces and nephews did when early on in their lives. And one of the earliest memories I have of my niece is when I would tell her how wonderful she was. Her face would just perk right up. She knew exactly who she was, and she radiated that back to me. And so when I got to that point with that child, I knew she had somehow absorbed and accepted that this was the truth about her. Isn't that amazing that she had that kind of intelligence at so young of age? And we all do. We all have that kind of innate intelligence that we know our own. We can smell them. And I could feel that little girl just relax right into me, into that love. And that's what we do when we love ourselves, when we love each other. It communicates to us at a level I call stillness. It's where you get something of the divine. It's where you intuit something of God that cannot be communicated with words. It's something that happens to our cellular structure in our brain. It goes into the cells at a level that scientists haven't quite gotten on paper yet. So what happens if we aren't taught the truth when we're young? What happens? What if someone taught us the wrong stuff? Maybe they taught it on purpose, maybe they didn't. You know, sometimes we grew up not knowing what we know. We do what our parents do, what our parents did. We do things in ignorance because we don't always know better. We hurt people out of ignorance when we don't know better, because inside, that person is hurting. So when you see somebody hurting another person, it's because what they are telling us is that they are hurting and they haven't learned how to heal that hurt inside themselves. How in the world can we ever figure out what was right and what was wrong back when we're so little and letting all of this in? I want to share with you another story by Lenidra Carroll, and she wrote a book called The Architecture of All Abundance, Creating a Successful Life in the Material World. And the reason why I want to share Lenidra's story is because she says in the very beginning of the book, she says, this book, like my life, is dedicated to the understanding of the divine excellence within each of us that, when lived, uplifts our humanity and moves us beyond our current limitations and difficulties and into the revolution, but I'm going to call it the evolution of the soul. And that transformation of our individual lives, our planet and our species. In other words, we become more. We become greater than we think we are, than we know ourselves to be. Isn't that powerful? Buckminster Fuller says, we are all called to be architects of our future, not its victims. So today, I want us to explore building a life, a deeply satisfying life, no matter how old you are, and expressing the truth of that life. Because you know what? A person who is happy, a person who's filled with love for themselves is going to do what for others? It's going to express that love out to others. They can't help but do anything else. To think of doing something else would be unconscionable for them. Who you are is not what you've been taught. Who you are is so much greater, so much richer than anything you could have possibly learned about yourself growing up. And I'm here to tell you that the first place to start is right there within yourself. The answers to all the questions, they're not out there. They're inside of you, because life is always responding to you right where you are, and whatever it is you need to know, whatever it is, no matter how simple your questions are, no matter what your questions are, there are answers lying right there within you, available from the only one who can give you those answers, the truth about yourself. So in page 13 on her book, Lenidra says, stillness is the spring that all rivers flow from, and the ocean that all rivers flow back into. Stillness underlies all movement, informs all life. It's the vitality that creates us. It surrounds us. It supports us. It's the source of stillness. It's the source of all creation. It's where everything gets made. It's where your richest ideas lie. It's where your mother lode is. Everything that you are, everything that you hope to be, everything that you have done, it doesn't matter. This weekend, I celebrated my 60th birthday. And you know what? That stillness is the essence of my living and my breathing, because it says I live, move, and have my being in him. And that kind of became my motto for life. I live, I move, I have my being. So that means there's nothing I cannot do or ever be or ever want. And everything that I desire comes to me because I know who I am. And when you know who you are, there is nothing that life will withhold from you. Just as there are many roads to the divine, there are so many routes inward. And you have the joy of finding them, discovering them, living what's there. Whether it's in prayer, meditation, nature, solitude, sacred writing, sacred dance, sacred song, ceremony, music, chanting, gardening, or even talking to your friends. You ever done that? You're talking to somebody, but your mind is a million miles away. It's amazing. There's a type of stillness that's inherent in its ability to transform situations, to reach insights beyond our rational minds. We can't figure out the why or the how, but somehow we know that's it. And also it takes us to that place of what we may not have known that we knew. But when it comes, oh my God, yes, I've known that all my life, and there it is. How come it's taken me this long to discover what I knew deep inside me? So I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, because I want to sing a little bit, but let me just stop and go back to Lanidra's story. I haven't even told you her story yet. You see, she was 9 years old, and she entered this transformative stillness at this time in her life, in 3rd grade. She was having a wonderful, wonderful time playing in the snow, making snowballs of various shapes. This is a very sophisticated process for a 9-year-old. She got a bucket of water and some crepe paper, and she was wetting the crepe paper, and she was pressing it into these snowballs, and she had these big bright swaths of red and green, and she would wet and she would pat, and she would wet and she would pat and form, and her mitten was all soggy, and after a while she took those mittens off, and then she began patting and doing some more of her creative effort, and eventually she had this wonderful red heart with white lace and a green duck and with red bill and feet, and she was so satisfied with her work, and she notices for the first time that her hands are aching. I mean, really aching. In fact, they're numb. They look grayish and waxy, and they're kind of puffy. And she knows intuitively that something is wrong. So what did she do, as any 3rd grader would have done? She goes right to her mother, and she says, Mom, look. And her mom takes one look at her hands and panics. She leads Lanidra back inside the house. And Lanidra's thinking, oh my God, am I dying? What's happening? And her mom takes her hands out into the snow and starts scrubbing them with the snow. But this hurt even more. And Lanidra cries out and pulls away, and her mom and her are engaged in this tug of war. And her mom says, give me your hand. No, it hurts. Give me those hands right now. You know us parents. We know what's best, right? Not always. Mom tried to explain to Lanidra she had frostbite, and this is what doctors say to do if she wants her hands to come back. But Lanidra says, no. She knew there was something wrong about what was happening, and it wasn't right for her. The doctors are wrong, she said. This 9-year-old, she knows more than her doctors. No, she knows what she knows about herself, as each and every one of us does. We know what we know, and we know it, but sometimes we try to block it out, but not Lanidra. Mom is so upset. She straightens up, she puts her hands on her hips, and she says, okay then, Miss Smarty Pants, if you know so much, then you figure out what to do. And Lanidra says, okay, I will. So Lanidra does something. She gets really still. Like that 1, 2, 3 freeze. She freezes. And she accesses a place. Now I'm saying this, the book doesn't say that, but she accesses that knowledge in her. Mom stomps into the house, and Lanidra just knows that she has to find out what's going on with her hands. And she goes to the stillness in this quiet. And in that moment, the answer just opens up to her. She suddenly just knows. It just bubbles up from somewhere. That place where all answers come from. And we can know anything. It's all right here. We just have to get still and ask. I'm going to take another tangent real quick. Do you know, I spent weeks looking for something. The object doesn't matter what I was looking for, but weeks looking for an object. And one day I just said, God, I don't know where it is. Can you help me find it? And I found it 2 minutes later. It just takes the moment of getting still and going to that place where the answers are. You know, there was a time. Oh, let me tell you what Lenidra knew before I go on. She realized that all she had to do, she could just picture in her mind what she needed to do. And that was just to warm her hands up slowly, not all at once. She could see the little cells, the little bubbles, she called them, in her hand. And she knew that she did it real quickly, it would damage the little bubbles in her hands. And she went to her mom, she said, Mom, I just need to warm them up a little bit. And her mom said, well, let's put them in the sink and we'll start it with cold water and we'll warm the water up gradually. And that's what happened, and Lenidra gained full function of her hands again. I can remember the first time I came to know what I needed to know. I was living in my house. I was about 30 years old, and my dad was staying with me. My dad was handicapped. And I knew he was going to call me. I was in the middle of my meditation, and meditation is just the best time of the day. And I didn't want to get up to go answer the call. But suddenly I became aware that I knew something. I became aware of the fact that he was going to call me. I became aware, oh God, my dad's going to call me. How did I know that? How did I know my dad was going to call me? And before I could finish thinking the thought, my dad called me. I got up to go take care of him. I came back and I sat down in my meditation. I'm thinking, how did I know that I knew that? How did I know? And then that moment, I got to that stillness, that place of knowing. And since I was having some financial challenges at that time, I needed to know about having more than I had right now in that moment. And in that split second, the way the brain works, I was actually able to put the amount that I needed in the place of my knowing. And suddenly I knew. I just knew that I had it. I didn't have to guess how I was going to get it. I didn't have to visualize that I was going to get it. I just knew I had it, and it was mine. And I knew it as sure as my name is Angela. And that evening, the check arrived in my mail. And it was back before we could just put things, but it was in my account before the day was over, because I knew what I knew. And I've done that many times since then, that knowing. It's a wonderful knowing, to know that you already have. There's so much that you're not even aware that you know, but you know. You do know the moment you make yourself aware that you know. I like the way Mahalia Jackson says it. Elijah Rock, shout, shout. Elijah Rock calling up, Lord. Elijah Rock, shout, shout. Elijah Rock calling up, Lord. You can call my rock in the morning. You can call him late at night. He's always with me, and all my vanities fight. If ever I'm in trouble, I can call God on the line. He put a telephone in my heart, and I can call God anytime. I said, Elijah Rock, shout, shout. Elijah Rock, I'm calling you. I'm calling you, Lord. Over the years, we've all been given many knowings. You don't have to go and raise the window and let him in. You just need to freeze and stand still, or sit still, or be in the moment where you know that you know that you know that you know. And the more you practice this method of stillness, the more you will learn that there is nothing that you cannot come to know for yourself. There's great wisdom waiting for you, new ideas, comfort and peace, solutions to practical matters and difficult questions. All of it is already known. You already know how to access it. You even know how to get to it. 2 Peter verse 3 says, As his divine power has given us everything we need for life and godliness through the knowledge of him who called us by his own glory and excellence, we know there's no such thing. There's not so much access to beyond our individual minds. There's a vast wisdom of universe, a vast universe of wisdom available to us as our birthright. And it only requires stillness, commitment, and a willingness to meet our Father. It's the only place available to each and every one of us within. And in my blurb that went out, I said we were going to have a chance to experience that. So would you guys like to play freeze with me for a moment? Okay. So let's have that experience. Go ahead and close your eyes and take everything off your laps and just take a couple of deep breaths and imagine that you're floating in a pond. And this pond is as big as an ocean. This is the ocean of being, the ocean of God. You are bathed in it. There's nothing that's not in it. It is this pure source of all that is. It has everything in it. Everything that is possible to see, to feel, to think, to hear. The whole wide world is in it. All your loved ones. It's a safe and beautiful place. And slowly let ourselves sink down into this ocean of oneness. Breathing underwater is not a problem. And we allow ourselves to just sink down to the bottom with no concerns, no fears. Just knowing that we are being led and guided and directed. By that which is unfathomable. And though you may become aware of the fish and the shells and whatever's going on down here, just become aware that everything is known here in this place. And as you look up, see the surface above you, shimmering like a jewel in the sunlight. You're watching the things floating on the surface or around you. You may even see or become aware of thoughts, feelings. You may be even thinking about something else, unable to be in this moment. But in this moment, we just gently direct our minds to being still. In this stillness, everything that you need to know. Whatever you need to know, it's yours. And you know it's right for you because there's love and peace. No matter if there's a storm, whatever's going on, there's love and God's peace. And right there, in the stillness, the answer we needed, you needed, is revealed. Let this love fill you up from the inside. This peace beats your heart, course through the blood in your veins, and you feel the very love of life has saturated you. You are this grand masterpiece, this grand being that God has created. And let that love exude out from you, out into the world. Let it shine, touching people, places, things. Enlivening the fabric of your life. You are a joy and a delight to be around. Because you touch that sacredness that God has given to each and every one of us. You've touched that deep joy. And we bring this joy back to this moment, knowing that whatever there is going on in our lives, there God is. There. Right here. And God will always be right here with each and every one of us. And so it is. Amen.
Hallelujah. 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 Hallelujah.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you for sharing that wonderful, inspiring message. Thank you. Let us take a moment to put our consciousness into the divine flow, practicing the law of circulation, knowing to give is to receive. We open ourselves to all the blessings raining down through the windows of heaven. So if you would please take your love offering, and if you'll join me in the offering affirmation. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am and have, all that I give and receive. Thank you, God. And we do have offering plates here in the back. And for people that are joining us online,
believe within your heart, you'll know that no one can change the path that you must go. Believe what you feel and know you're right, because the time will come around when you'll say it's yours. Believe there's a reason to be. Believe you can make time stand still. And know from the moment you try, if you believe, I know you will. Believe in yourself right from the start. You have courage, you have a heart, and you have love to last the whole life through. If you believe in yourself as I believe in you, believe that you're not alone. Believe there's a reason to be. There deep in your heart, if you believe, then you'll be free. Believe in yourself right from the start. Believe in the magic right here in your heart. Believe all these things, not because I told you to, but believe in yourself. If you believe in yourself, just believe in yourself. As God believes in you. Thank you.
so for those of you who are joining us virtually, please remember that there is a donate button on our website, unitybatonrouge.com. If you have any difficulty with the donate button on the weekly email, please feel free to get in touch with us here at the church. And now let us join together and bless our tithes and offerings. We see these tithes going out to support our mission as we affirm. Unity of Baton Rouge is a diverse, growing, thriving, healing community of wisdom, love, support, and service. Amen. So, do we have any children? Heike, do we have any children today? Or we have teenagers? Okay.
We are walking as the light, as the light, as the light. We are walking as the light, as the light of God. As the light, 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 as the light of God. We are walking as the love, as the love, as the love. We are walking as the love, as the love of God. As the love, as the love, as the love, as the love, walking as the joy, as the joy. No, no joy, no
When you're
joy.
walking, okay.
Oh. Oh, they ate donuts.
Ah, yes. Isn't life wonderful? Just when you think you've got things figured out, you have surprises. Yay!
Semi's here.
Makes life so much more
Semi.
much easier. Yes. So, do we have any announcements? I don't see any announcements in the bulletin. So, I guess, see, this was what was on my bulletin.
They didn't give you the back, huh?
Didn't give me the back. Thank you.
A Course in Miracles on Wednesday.
I got it here. I was wondering, it's like no announcements back here. Okay. So every Wednesday we have a Course in Miracles. It's led by Cody. Can join with him via Zoom. Every Saturday we have Reimagine Louisiana. It's the same Zoom link as the Sunday service, and that's at 4 o'clock. Cody's A Course in Miracles on Wednesday is at 6:30. Then on Sunday, October the 11th, we're going to have Metaphysical Bible Study, which will continue with The Creative Process by Eric Butterworth. And that's going to be via Zoom from the sanctuary. That will be at noon. So do we have any additional announcements?
Oh, birthdays. October birthdays.
Oh, October birthdays. Okay. Who has an October birthday? I
Come
know
on,
somebody that
come
has
on
an
up.
October birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, you are wonderful. Happy birthday to you. God is blessing you now. God is blessing you now. God is blessing you. You are wonderful. God is blessing you now.
And many more.
And many more. Okay.
Demi Moore, who is she here? Demi, it's Demi Moore, isn't it?
Thank you, Jude. Okay. Time to
Peace song.
peace song.
Virtual hugging hands.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator. We're a family. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Have a blessed week, everyone.
Thank you, Angela. Wonderful message. You come back next month?